Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttavaragamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanditam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Godangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Devam Yasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashta Prayeshvavadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Every service has its austerity or austerities. And one of the austerities of giving Bhagavatam class is wearing a garland. But it's a very nice garland with lots of leaves. Good morning, everyone. We never say good morning in our culture. Why is that? Huh? It's Maya. It's all Maya. To wish someone good morning. Well, enjoy the good morning while you can, because it's supposed to start raining at 10 o'clock this morning, right? This morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, Daksha curses Lord Shiva. And we're reading verse number 27. Is that right? Okay. Let's chant. Tasyaivam vadata shapam. Tasyaivam vadata shapam. Shrutva dvija kulaya vai. Shrutva dvija kulaya vai. Brigu pratyasrijachapam. Brigu pratyasrijachapam. Brahmadandam duratyayam. Brahmadandam duratyayam. Tasyaivam vadata shapam. Shrutva dvija kulaya vai. Brigu pratyasrijachapam. Brahmadandam duratyayam. Others can chant. Okay, what does all this mean? Tasya, his Nandishvaras. Evam, thus. Vadataha, words. Shapam, the curse. Shrutva, hearing. Dvijakulaya, unto the Brahmanas. Vai, indeed. Brigu, Brigu. Pratyasrijat, made. Shapam, a curse. Brahmadandam, the punishment of a Brahmana. Duratyayam, insurmountable. You know what insurmountable means? Yes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When all the hereditary brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandishvara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahminical curse. Purport: the word Duratyaya is particularly used in reference to a Brahma Danda, or a curse by a Brahmana. A curse by a Brahmana is very strong. Therefore it is called Duratyaya, or insurmountable. As the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, the stringent laws of nature are insurmountable. Similarly, if a curse is uttered by a Brahmana, that curse is also insurmountable. But Bhagavad Gita also says that the curses or benedictions of the material world are, after all, material creations. The Chaitanya Charitamrita confirms that that which is accepted in this material world to be a benediction and that which is taken to be a curse are both on the same platform, because they are material. To get out of this material contamination, one should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Mam eva ye pravadyante mayam etang tarantite. The best path is to transcend all material curses and benedictions and take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna and remain in a transcendental position. Persons who have taken shelter of Krishna are always peaceful. They are never cursed by anyone, nor do they attempt to curse anyone. That is a transcendental position. And so ends Prabhupada's purport to this verse. Tasyaivam vadata shapam shrutva dvijakulaya vai. Bhrigu pratyasrijat chapam brahma dandam duratyayam. When all the hereditary brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandishvara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with his very strong Brahminical curse. There seems to be some disturbance going on in this story. What is the problem? Indeed, one could well ask, what is the problem? After all, Lord Shiva is not causing any trouble. He's just sitting there, meditating. We say in English, minding his own business. Daksha is disturbed nonetheless. And why is he disturbed? Because Lord Shiva is doing nothing. He's disturbed by his inaction. He has expectations, and his specific expectation is that Lord Shiva will show him deference. You know this word, deference? It means honor, regard of some sort. And why does he expect this? He expects it because he is Daksha. He is, first of all, the person who is conducting this grand yajna. But not only that, what is his family relation with Shiva? What's the relationship? Yeah, he's his son-in-law, and the natural culture of, I would think, every culture, it's maybe universal, that the son-in-law would give respect to the father-in-law, as the son would give respect to the father, and so on. And he doesn't seem to be showing any respect. He seems to be ignoring, and Daksha has expectations. And this is the seed of the trouble which is happening as described in this chapter. Lord Shiva is very much honored in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He is honored as being very similar, very close, almost equal to Lord Krishna. Close, but not quite, but close enough so that the general lesson for devotees is, let us give all honor to Lord Shiva as being very close to the identity of Krishna and being a devotee of Krishna. Gopishvara is a form of Shiva who is worshipped in Vrindavan. He is the form of the Lord. He's the form of Lord Shiva who wanted to take part in Lord Krishna's pastime, the Rasa Leela. And for that purpose, he is allowed to take the form of a gopi. Because how would that work if Lord Shiva would come as Lord Shiva to the Rasa dance? That would be a big rasabasa, right? That would be troublesome. So, okay, no problem. We make you into a gopi, and so he's sort of dipped into, I forget now which body of water. Yamuna, I'm not sure. Anyone know? He's dipped into one body of water and he comes out a gopi. Many stories like that. And then, according to one account, as the dance is going on, after some time, Krishna, he's feeling like, something is wrong here. Something is off, yeah. What is it? I feel as if someone is here who doesn't belong here. And then it comes out that, it's Lord Shiva. And Krishna is very pleased. He says, oh, so wonderful of you to be here. But it's not really your place. I appreciate, that you want to participate in this rasa dance, but let's face it, you are a Shiva. Even if you're disguised as a gopi, I'm sorry, this really doesn't work. But, as they say in Australia, no worries. No worries. we are going to station you. We're going to give you a permanent position as one of the protectors of Vrindavan. And so he becomes Gopi Ishvara. He becomes in the form of a Shivalinga. He becomes the protector of one of the four protectors of the Dham, one of the four Dikpalas, Shiva protectors. And he is worshipped in two different ways. In the morning, he's worshipped as Lord Shiva, and in the evening, he's dressed and worshipped as a gopi. Yeah, they dress him up like a gopi every evening. So, lots of honor is given to Lord Shiva in the Bhagavatam. However, the followers of Lord Shiva, they get a different press. They're not so much appreciated in the Bhagavatam, and this is one passage where this comes out. But this passage is also presenting, it shows Daksha as being rather short-tempered, and also his followers, the Brahmins, as being rather short-tempered. And all of this is leading to a very disturbed condition, such that the whole purpose, the performance of a sacrifice for the devas, is spoiled. Perhaps we should back up and hear again, for those of you who have heard recently, what is the curse of Nandishvara. Where does he begin? Okay, Nandishvara. Okay. So who is Nandishvara? First of all, he's one of the principal associates of Lord Shiva. So when he hears a curse against Lord Shiva, he gets upset. It mentions that Daksha has cursed Lord Shiva, but it doesn't say what his curse is, at least here not. In any case, Nandishvara he now gets upset. He's one of Shiva's followers. His eyes become red. And he says, anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent. Why? Because of visualizing in duality. Pritak drishti. Okay, this is an expression that comes a few times in the Bhagavatam. Pritak, you know this word, means separate. Pritak. And pritak drishti, having a vision, a view, a perception of difference, separateness. So he says, because of visualizing in duality, they will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. Okay. That's a pretty heavy curse. So the Bhagavatam is saying, in effect, you meet a follower of Lord Shiva, you can be sure that they will never be able to get transcendental knowledge. interfaith dialogue with Shaivites might be a problem. It goes on, pretentiously religious householder life in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas, robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. Okay, so it's, in a sense, this is bashing Karma Kanda. Yeah, we like to bash Karma Kanda. That portion of the Veda which says, do this, do that, do the other yagya, because then you will get this, that, and the other. And thus you can continue to live in this material world happily. Then it goes on, Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnu Pada or Vishnu Gati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat. Oh, okay. Face of a goat. The face of a goat? I think he's going to have the head of a goat eventually, isn't it? Yeah. Furthermore, those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are nesciently involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposely insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Sangsarantu iha ye cha anu sarva abhamaninam. Sharva abhamaninam. Sharva is Shiva. He's not stopping there. He has more to say. May those who are envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of the enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, may they always remain attached to fruitive activities. There's the word pushpinya here. Flowery. We mentioned this, we talked about this a couple of days ago. Ya enam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschita veda vadarata parta na anyat astiti varina. Krishna says. There are those who are bewildered by the flowery words of the Veda. And so they think there's nothing more than this. Kamat mana svarga para. They think there's nothing more than svarga to attain. Okay, continuing. These Brahmins take to education, austerity, and vows only for the purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money, begging from door to door, simply for the satisfaction of the body. Yeah, okay, that's the curses of Nandishvara on the Brahmins. Heavy curses. One could also take these this description as as an etiological story. Etiology means it's telling giving an explanation of how something has happened, how it's come about that things are the way they are. So, in other words, you look around and you see Brahmins who are very materialistic, then you'll know why they are that way. They've been cursed by Nandishvara. That's the explanation. All right, so then the story continues with the Brahmadandam, the curse of the Brahmins. There's a few curses in the Bhagavatam. What are some other curses? Moments of cursing in the Bhagavatam. Any thoughts? Yes. Shima. Yes, Narada curses Nalakuvara and Manigriva for their ignoring him and being shameless in their behavior. Other curses? Yes, Ramana. Chitraketu gets cursed by the wife of Parvati. What is his sin? Chitraketu has found it very amusing that Parvati is sitting on the lap of Lord Shiva while they are surrounded by sages. He finds this very amusing. And Parvati doesn't think it's amusing that Chitraketu thinks it's amusing. Yes. Hare Krishna. And any other curse? Yes, Bachar. Maharaj Parikshit has been cursed. What was his mistake? Bachar.
His mistake, he put a dead snake on the body of
Yes, he puts a snake on the body, around the neck of the meditating Brahmin. What was his name? The Brahmin, the sage? Shringi is the son, yes. Huh? Shamika Rishi. Shamika, thank you. Yes. Yeah, and can we think of one more famous curse in the Bhagavatam? Jai and Vijay, yes. Jai and Vijay are cursed. What is... they're not... Yes, they're cursed. And what is their mistake? Yes. Halt, stop. Who are you? Where do you think you're going? Now one might, at this, on this particular incident, consider or wonder, I'm wondering aloud, and maybe you have an answer for this. In the end of Prabhupada's purport here, he says, the best path is to transcend all material curses and benedictions and take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna and remain in a transcendental position. That's the best. Persons who have taken shelter of Krishna are always peaceful. They are never cursed by anyone, nor do they attempt to curse anyone. That is a transcendental position. So now one could object that Jai and Vijay have taken shelter of the Lord. Otherwise, how could they possibly, be in the position that they are? And the four Kumaras are making an effort to surrender to the Lord, They've come to Vaikuntha, they want to enter to approach the Lord. So in both cases, it seems that it would this would apply. Persons who have taken shelter of Krishna are always peaceful. They are never cursed by anyone. Nor do they attempt to curse anyone. That is the transcendental position. So how can we resolve this seeming contradiction? Anyone want to take a try at this? Any suggestions of how we could resolve this? Yes, go into it. It is lila. That's our all-purpose resolution of every such contradiction. Yes, Advaita Singha. The curses are blessings. Okay, so they're not really curses. Sanjay.
It says material curses, so you could say it's a curse from the spiritual dimension.
It's a spiritual curse.
Yes.
Which,
I think that is in favor of the Lila argument.
So that goes together with the point about Lila. Okay. Yes. The name I'm trying to remember.
Janardana Hari does.
Janardana Hari. Yes.
Sometimes it's for the pleasure of Krishna. So Jayan Vijay was to create a Leela where he can enjoy annihilating demons.
Okay. That ties in with the Leela explanation, doesn't it? The Lord wants to enjoy, in this case, he wants to enjoy a good fight. And but do the four Kumaras know that? Do the four Kumaras know that as they're approaching? Do they already know in advance what the Lord wants? They haven't met the Lord yet. Do they have to know? One could say, well, maybe they don't consciously know, but the Lord in the heart, as Paramatma, is giving them the cue, curse those guys, because I want to have a good fight with them. That may be a possibility. Well, in any case, we, for our part, may want to take to heart this direction that Prabhupada is giving. Persons who have taken shelter of Krishna are always peaceful. They are never cursed by anyone, nor do they attempt to curse anyone. That is a transcendental position. So, okay, we don't curse. We don't use our power of speech to curse others. Sometimes we might feel like we want to curse someone. Have you ever felt that way? You don't want to admit, do you? Yes, Janardana, you felt that way sometimes. Yeah. True confession. Right. Yeah, sometimes. Of course, it's always very much tied together with anger, isn't it? We become angry at someone. We feel someone has acted wrongly, and we may feel that the best thing for the benefit of that person is that they be cursed. In my, great wisdom, I'm going to curse this person so that they will learn their lesson. And so that urge is there. We might want to say it's part of the vacho vegam, right? Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udarapasa. So it's one of the and krodha vegam. So vacha vegam, krodha vegam, these go very close together. In general, when there's some raising of voices in some argument, some disagreement, actually this can be the beginning of what can become a deeper conflict. And therefore devotees are very, very careful, very cautious. We want to be careful and cautious with our speech. Yeah, Krishna advises also in the Gita. Actually, I find it helpful to remember the context in which he says, Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat svadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. That the austerities of speech, he's giving a list. Austerity, tapas. He's explained austerities of the body, then austerities of speech, and then austerities of the mind. So austerity, tapas, Srila Prabhupada explains what is austerity. Or tapas, it's voluntarily accepting some inconvenience for the purpose of spiritual advancement. So what is this? What's the definition of tapasya? Again?
Voluntarily austerities for the sake of spiritual advancement.
Voluntarily accepting. Yeah, accepting some austerity for spiritual advancement. I always remember the old days. It was number 31 Rohrbacher Strasse in Heidelberg. Soon after I had joined the devotees got this, rented this little house. It was a little wooden 2-story house. Did you ever see the Rohrbacher Strasse house? It was a cute little house. And it was quite small, but it was 2 stories. And it was packed with devotees. I think some of us sometimes had to sleep on the stairs at night. And the bathing facility was in the back garden, a bucket with cold water over the head in the middle of winter. That was, it was invigorating, as we say. So it was, actually it was kind of fun in those days when we were younger, because we were all doing it, you know. It was a kind of, we weren't just doing it alone. It was fun, you know. So anyway, the idea is voluntary acceptance of austerity for spiritual advancement. And I find this helpful to remember when thinking about austerities in general. And austerity of speech, anudvega karam vakyam. So vakyam, speech, which is anudvega kara. Vega, we know this word vega, means pushing or impelling, and udvega means, ut has the sense of up and out, and so it's like really so it has the sense of upsetting. So speech which is upsetting devotees try to avoid. So, anudvegakaram vakyam. Huh? Upsetting, the word? Huh? Aufregend. Yeah, you can say aufregend. And then anudvega means the opposite, so not upsetting. Anudvega karam vakyam, satyam, truthfulness. It's austerity to be truthful. Because it's easier a lot of times, it's just easier a lot of times to not be truthful. Or it seems easier. And then the question always comes up, what about white lies? You know, do you have this expression in German, white lie? Ein unschuldiges Lüge or something like that? No? Anyway, a white lie in English is a lie which it's harmless. It's not hurting anyone, but it's just, you know, for social smooth interactions. You know, somebody asks you, "How are you?" You feel horrible, but you say, "I'm fine." You know, that's a kind of a white lie, because you don't want to get into a whole discussion with the person. Oh, I feel horrible. Oh, you feel horrible, really? Yeah. White lies. Okay, anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam. Priyahita. Priya means dear or pleasing, nice, favorable, good. And hita means beneficial. So having the intention of being beneficial. So speaking to actually benefit someone is an austerity. It's an austerity. Why? Because our tendency is, instead of seeing good in others, is to see faults in others. It's so easy to see faults in others, especially because our own self, we may be a mountain of faults, and how good it feels to find a fault in someone else, because then I don't feel so bad about myself, right? That's the tendency. So priyahita is turning that upside down and saying, let's see what good we can find in this person. And let's speak it. Let's compliment. Let me compliment this person. Let me praise them. There's a verse in the 11th canto I was trying to memorize. Let's see if I can do it. Parasvabhava karmani na prashangsen nagarhayet vishvam ekatmakam pashyan prakritya purushena cha. Ha, I got it. So it's saying that because one sees that the world is made a unity by the combination of Prakriti and Purusha, it's of a piece. It's in order. In effect, the world is the way it's supposed to be. Because of that, one should neither praise nor criticize others for their activities. Na prashangset nagarhayet. But now we hear this and we think, hold on, okay, I get it that one shouldn't criticize others, but one should not praise others? That doesn't, and that's in the Bhagavatam. How should I understand this? So then we have to apply a principle of Vedic Vaishnava hermeneutics. Hermeneutics means interpretation. Interpretation is what you do when something is not clear or not clear as it seems superficially. Prabhupada says, don't interpret if it's clear and straightforward. Leave it as it is. But when it's not, then what do? You have to interpret. And then, how do you do it? You follow there are certain rules that help to do it. And one of the rules, in this case, is when there are two injunctions. So you have a purva vidhi, in this case, na prashangset, one should not praise. And you have an uttara vidhi, which is na garhayet. When there's two like this, and you're wondering, how do I deal with this? Then the second one takes preference, the later one. The uttara vidhi takes preference over the purva vidhi. So it's okay to praise. It's okay to praise devotees. Even though it says in the Bhagavatam, na prashangsayet. Well, that's not something that the Brahmins and also Nandishvara seem to be thinking about as they are cursing and counter-cursing in this pastime, which is a pastime. It's in the Bhagavatam as a pastime for Daksha to learn a lesson. He's going to come through all of this eventually as a very honored person. And I think this is also something we could reflect on, is that Vaishnava culture says, essentially, we all make mistakes, and it's possible for us to correct our mistakes. And when we have corrected our mistakes, then we can be resituated or again situated as before. We can go about our devotional service in the association of devotees. That's a bigger topic, but I'll just put that out there for our consideration. And I think I should stop here for the time being. And I see there are questions and comments. Yes, Ramanand.
Sometimes we speaking lies and praising devotees. We say, oh, you very learned scholar or tiger amongst men. It's like
hyperbole. In English, there's a word for this, hyperbole. Hyperbole is exaggerated glorification.
Yeah. So I wonder if this is okay. But my actual question is related to this. Sometimes we see that maybe senior devotees or like Vaishnavas in the community speaking things what goes a little bit against maybe the general philosophy, or let's say things coming up nowadays again, like about practicing of Raganuga Bhakti and how to practice, and it goes even that far that some devotees claim, that the old thing, Prabhupada didn't give everything, and even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was extracting things what actually should be there, and goes in these directions. So sometimes this comes from senior respected Vaishnavas, and as a community of devotees, and especially also as a local community, sometimes when we have taking more and more responsibility of educating young people, how to respectfully deal with such what may be considered deviations.
Deal carefully. You may speak with a senior devotee in a private way and explain that I have this concern, and this is why I have this concern, and in particular in the context of our society, our institution, our little community, what you're saying is possibly a problem or a cause of confusion. So, you can ask them, how do you suggest that, excuse me, that we deal with this? That, I think, would be a starting point. Now, it could also be that they are, it could be, I'm speaking now very generally, not necessarily to what you've given as examples, but it could be that a devotee is correcting a misunderstanding that devotees may have. Or they may have a quasi-correct understanding, but their application of it ends up being a misunderstanding. You mentioned Raga Nuga Bhakti. There are devotees who have a misunderstanding that Raga Nuga Bhakti equals Sahajiya orientation or mentality or way of life. Well, that's a misunderstanding. There's a paragraph, we read this during the festival from Nectar of Devotion, where it seems like Srila Prabhupada is saying that. I was reading this paragraph and thinking, how is this going to be understood? Because I forget the context now, but in a sense Prabhupada seems to be, he's talking about Siddha Pranali, and then seems to be equating it with Sahajiyism. And I can only say that's interesting, but it's not really our understanding. It's not the philosophy of the Vaishnavas. It's not, I don't think Prabhupada says that elsewhere, but he said it in one place. But the general point is, in this context, the general point is it could be that a devotee is seeking to, and maybe they're doing it in a not very expert way, that's also possible, but seeking to correct some misunderstanding. That's one aspect, and another aspect is that in a community of Vaishnavas, we have a whole spectrum of let's say degrees of engagement and understanding of Krishna consciousness, and we have a sort of ongoing challenge, I think, in our society that on the one side, I see it as a sort of, it is a funnel. You have some for pouring liquid into a small container. You have some, yeah. What do you call it? Trichter, yeah. So our whole mission is, in some sense, working like a trichter, like a funnel, where we have a very wide end that's welcoming everyone. And then we're narrowing down. And, the small end of the funnel of our tradition is actually very small. To get everything right, to, pure Shuddha Bhakti, devotional service, back home, back to Godhead. It's a very small end. And in our society, we have everybody, from the widest down to the narrowest, and we're trying to negotiate all of this variety, and it's not easy. It's not easy. But what I want to say is, if we insist on having discussions only on the level, let's say, of using this crude example of the funnel, on the widest end, well, as Gaur Govinda Maharaj once said, and I hope this won't be taken in a negative way, but he once said to one devotee, one of his disciples, who was expressing some dissatisfaction about how things were going in the temple, and I don't know any specifics, something he was not happy about, and he felt somehow that it was showing quite some immaturity. And so he brought this to his spiritual master, and his spiritual master said, you know, sometimes our temples, they're like kindergarten. It's like kindergarten. It's a place for learning the basics. But if I just stopped there, then you would all get up, and you would feel greatly upset, especially all of you who live here. You would feel like, oh no, what is this? Right? But Srila Prabhupada also said that our temples are places for education. And education doesn't mean just kindergarten. It means, like we have our courses for studying Shastra. And of course then the whole idea of studying Shastra is applying Shastra and having Shastra chakshus, having the vision of Shastra. And what I want to say is this is an ongoing process of learning. And it's not that you have an absolutely fixed, you don't always have an absolutely fixed conclusion. Some things are matters of discussion. They're matters of, even friendly argumentation, right? And that's why we have also our classes with Shastra, so we can discuss and consider, as Prabhupada said, different angles of vision. So I don't know if that helps with your concern, but these are the thoughts I have on it. Does that help at all? Not really. Huh?
It's food for thought.
Food for thought. That was a nice neutral response. It is food for thought. Okay. Yes, go in it.
I have two questions now, one related to the previous topic and another one about the Purva Vidi and Uttara Vidi. But first about the first, because I also remember this section of Nectar of Devotion we recently read.
Yeah.
And to me this seemed like this common understanding we have that Siddha Pranali generally could, it tends to, that's what I heard out of it at least, that if there's no qualified, that's also the word probably just, if there's no qualification, then it probably will be, sahaja, it will be an imagination.
Yeah.
So, because you make it a little bit relative, that maybe that's not our understanding, but in that case it seemed very clear that...
it's a matter of qualification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I didn't remember that he presents it that way in that purport, but, or that section, but thank you, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, and then it makes perfect sense. Someone's not qualified, then it's like, what is it? It's not, it's something like sahajiyism perhaps. Sahaja, the word sahaja means natural, and it means simple, but on the positive side, it means it can be used in a positive sense. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I think it's in one song, he speaks of sahaja bhakti, just natural bhakti, spontaneous bhakti. But it's in the negative sense, it's the misunderstanding, you can say, that without qualification. It's a different thing.
And the second question about, you said Purva Vidi and Uttara Vidi.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it about the sequence when something was spoken? You sometimes also with instructions Srila Prabhupada gave, we take the latest instruction as the Uttara Vidi. Is that what it means, like chronological, or how we determine something is Uttara and something is Purva Vidi?
Yeah, good question. That's my understanding, but there may be different ways that it's applied. I must confess I haven't delved into it, but it would be a principle, as I understand, from Mimamsa, or Purva Mimamsa, which has a lot of concern with how do we interpret scripture. And it often is dealing with very technical, very complicated issues involving ritual, highly technical. And then they apply such rules. Okay, well that one's coming before, this is coming after, we take this one. Because we can't do both, all right, we take the second one. But how that's applied, I can just imagine devotees saying, this was said before, that was said after, I'll forget about that and take this because I like it more. We have to be careful with it as well. Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya, Hridaye Koriya Aikya. We consult with the sadhus, the guru. We consult Shastra, we consult Guru, we consult sadhus, and the combined consultation brings us Aikya, a single clear understanding in the heart. That can take time. We have to also be careful, not overly hasty. And that's the other principle, anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat, svadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva. Abhyasanam, the practice, the regular practice of what? Svadhyaya. And what is svadhyaya? Svadhyaya means studying Shastra. So we always go back and again and again and again to Shastra, which the term Shastra can also be inclusive to mean the statements of Guru, the statements of sadhus. Is that okay? Yeah, so be careful with that. Let's not misapply that rule. But it's specifically what I read. I think it's in the purport to that verse in the 11th canto. It's specifically giving that application for this na prashangset, na garhayet. One should not praise, one should not criticize. It says it's okay to praise. Yes, Sanjay.
In the purport of the next verse, which is related, it says, one should praise the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord and criticize the mentality of Krishna, rebellion against the personality of Godhead, by which one becomes a non-devotee.
Yes. Also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in one of his songs, I just read this morning, one of his Sharanagati songs, in which he is listing things that he will do favorable to devotional service and things not favorable. And one of the things he will do favorable for devotional service is I will become angry at those who criticize the Lord and his devotees, something like that. Yeah. I will become angry at them. It's bona fide. You can be angry at those criticizing the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. Any ladies? Oh, yes. Microphone.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I had two little questions. The first one is so beautiful, the verse you were mentioning. So I wanted to ask you which verse it was. Not the one, Bhacha Mana Sakurada Vedam, but the other one about the speech.
That's chapter 17, Bhagavad Gita, I think it's verse 15. Wow. Anudvega karam vakyam. Yeah.
Beautiful. Because it's so, it makes me think a lot about, you were saying about white lies, no? And about this, that once one keeps doing that, it just becomes more and more difficult to find out the truth that is the reality, and then also to advance, because then we rarely, because of social circumstances, like becomes difficult to actually share what's in the heart and progress, because if we don't do that, then we remain in the same confused misunderstanding of the scriptures. And I feel this desire in my heart of wanting to understand better, and I felt like it means I have to reveal what's inside more often. And it's not so easy, as you mentioned, to actually be to not create harm at the same time, be truthful and not to say things that may hurt. And so it's a really difficult process.
It is.
And I find myself a little bit like walking on the razor's edge, because it's so important. But so I wanted to ask.
Yes, thank you. That's and a related principle or theme is if we want to build trust, then there has to be honesty. When there's not honesty, then we cannot expect trust. And honesty always, almost, I think maybe always, involves allowing oneself to be vulnerable. It's opening oneself. And when we open ourselves, it can be painful if we are rejected. And so it's a challenge. And as you said, always saying white lies, it can become habitual, and it can become so habitual that we start believing our own lies. And then we can't even trust ourselves. So I think a starting point for truthfulness is being truthful to ourselves about ourselves. Isn't it? And that means admitting, okay, I'm still rascal number one. With respect to, particular things or actions or non-actions, or I'm either rascal number one or fool number one. Prabhupada once said, how many times Prabhupada spoke about fools and rascals? And one time he said fool, something, fool and rascals. And then he paused for a moment, and then he said, fool means rascal. Yes.
Maharaj, one last quick question. What's the reaction for telling lies to fellow devotees?
For telling?
Lies to fellow devotees.
To fellow devotees, to others. Yeah.
Answer, is that you have a separate reaction? How is that?
I'm not expert on the precisions of karmic action and reaction. There are lists what kind of birth one takes for various actions or non-actions. In the Manu Samhita, there's some lists. There's some in Garuda Purana. The one I always remember is if you steal vegetables, you will take birth as a peacock. Hare Krishna. But it's a whole list, there's all kinds of... So telling a lie to a fellow devotee, I suppose it could depend on many different factors, But I think our principle here, what we want to be concerned about, is developing trust. And so, what can we do to facilitate as much as possible a culture of trust? It's very challenging in this age. It's very challenging. But if we don't have it, then, it becomes very difficult. If there's no trust, then we fall back on things like position, power, and so on. And that's always temporary. That'll work for a while, but after some time, if someone feels they're simply being manipulated or whatever, then at some point they'll say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do service in such a context. So, yeah. Does that help? Gopikita, yes.
Krishna, it's a bit of a practical question.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years here, there have been some circumstances sometimes when in my experience, Matajis have uttered some curses, and I was brought up sort of and told we just don't do that. But in a way, that it wasn't really explained why. And sometimes these curses, maybe just by transcendental accident, have happened. And often, actually, every time they've been spoken, when the person is enraged. So it's, I don't know whether there is some practical tips of how to deal with that. Sometimes I just pray and walk away, but I don't,
Yeah, of course, the context of the Bhagavatam, what's being described is, let's say, traditional Brahmins who had incredible powers, such that when they spoke a curse, it would really happen, and therefore one was always eager to avoid being cursed by a Brahmin and instead to be blessed by a Brahmin. For us in our circumstance, whether somebody's curse will, just because they speak it, actually happen, maybe not. But taking Prabhupada's purport here, that's what you mentioned, that's exactly what we are supposed to do. Where is it? Same planet. Shelter. Yeah, the best path is to transcend all material curses and benedictions. So, I've been cursed. Who is the example in the Bhagavatam for this response to a curse? Yes, but I was thinking of Chitraketu. Chitraketu is being cursed to go to hell, and he says, "Oh, okay." And then Lord Shiva says that famous verse. He says, "Just see the Vaishnavas; they are transcendental. Svarga pavarga narakesha abhi tulyarta darshanam." Tulya arta. They regard equally. They regard equally this or that, a curse, a blessing. So that's the ideal, that we take whatever comes and take it in stride. And yes, as you said, maybe just walk away. The person is very angry now. It's not going to be good to try to communicate. Let's wait until things are more peaceful, and then maybe we can discuss. Yeah, because sometimes we can say modes of nature, the clouds of the modes of nature are just too thick. Okay, let's talk about this later. Yeah. Sometimes that's the best. And of course, there's lots of there's courses, there's programs to learn non-violent communication, right? There's a whole institution that has developed that. And it's mostly about listening, you know. And listening means listening to what is the person's needs. They may be expressing so many things, but what is it they need? Somebody needs some attention. Somebody needs some security. Somebody needs some approval. Someone needs some security. Somebody needs to feel they're in control. Pretty simple kinds of needs that we all have. And then finding the best time, place, and circumstances for communicating, and that means listening. And that means also valuing the other person. If we don't value the other person, we really don't care if they exist or not, then that's also difficult to develop into a positive relationship. Yeah. Okay, one more. Yes.
Thank you so much, Krishna Kshetra. When I'm spending time in the temples and with Vaishnavas, I more and more I appreciate the devotees and how it, especially in this festival, last festival, I was so moved and touched and deeply, you can say deeply touched by the devotees, not only Narasimha. And how wonderful, how many advanced devotees were here and still here. And to cultivate this more and also to talk more in the temples about the relations between devotees and to develop more appreciation and affection and love for devotees. And so then these negative feelings, they just they transform, and we can develop and we can make advancement in such an environment. And regarding to the question of Gopi Gita, I would suggest maybe to do some chanting before talking about issues, to chant the holy name, just a little bit, and then maybe one is able to talk more calmly about these issues, and because I think all these negative emotions are related to fear, and to overcome these fears in all sorts of forms, and really develop the respect and the love for devotees is so important, because it's so special to be with devotees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good point. A practical point. You have some difficulty with another devotee. Let's sit down and let's chant together. Could be kirtan, could be japa, and then let's discuss. That's a possibility. Another thing that can be done, I've mentioned this I think before here, is what they do in the Hong Kong temple. Once a year, they have an event where they all gather, not in the temple, but in the home of one or another devotee. And they have a session where everyone praises another devotee. And they have a very specific procedure how they do it. Everyone is invited to come, and then before they come, they should bring with them some small gift, and the gift should not cost more than €2. But they should bring a gift to give to one other devotee, and they all come together, and they have a kirtan for some time, and then they go around the room one after another. Everyone has, I think it's 2 minutes, to glorify one other devotee. That devotee may or may not be present. It may be someone who, for whatever reason, was not able to come to the event. But when a particular devotee has been praised, then, let's say I was planning to also praise that devotee. No, I have to praise another devotee. So it ends up that everyone gets praised. And it gets quite emotional, but in a very positive way. it gets so emotional that they always bring a box of tissues because some devotees start crying. But as I said, it's always very positive. And after they go around like this, they have again little kirtan, and then prasadam, and then everyone gives their little gift to one other devotee, and that's the program. And you know, at the end you see devotees embracing each other, and they're everyone feels uplifted. It's quite amazing how it works. So you could, I don't know if that works in only in Hong Kong, but you might try something like that. Huh? You did it once? Oh, how was it? Was it good? Huh? It was. It was. So, you can do it again. No? Another thing you can do, which they also do in Hong Kong, I was just in Hong Kong, we didn't do it while I was there this time, but devotees go on a picnic. One of the problems we have in any temple situation is that we tend to start seeing each other only in terms of our particular services. And so we forget that devotees are people. And so in Hong Kong, it's actually, you can do it here very easily. Hong Kong is a big city, but it's very mixed with a lot of nature, and within 10 or 20 minutes from anywhere in Hong Kong you can be out in nature. And so they go on walks, and sometimes they go to a beach, and they have kirtan and they have a picnic, and it's just a time to relax together, and as we say, to hang out, and it's nice. It's nice. It kind of puts aside all of these designations. I am this position. I'm that position. We're all just devotees. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's a misunderstanding. I always like to quote again from Bhagavad Gita, Yukta haraviharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta svapna avabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha ha. Dukkha ha means removing dukkha, removing suffering. And yukta ahara, yukta vihara. Vihara is the key word in this context. It means recreation. And yukta means appropriate, moderate, not too much, not too little, but some. So recreation is it's part of our program. Our basic recreation is kirtan, sankirtan. But, Lord Chaitanya on Janmashtami, he was playing like cowherd boys with his friends, swimming, different ways of having some fun. It's bona fide to have fun. I think maybe we should stop there. I want to thank you all very much, all of you who are Dham Vasis. You are doing so much service. Day after day, after week, after week, after month, after year after year. Life after life. And it's glorious. And you might sometimes feel when it's, middle of the week and hardly anyone is here, and maybe it's cold and it's freezing and it's not so much fun. But I think then when all the devotees come for a festival, you're again reminded, oh yeah, this is why we're here. Isn't it? Yeah. So when the times are slow and whatever, then just remember the festival times. And remember, Nrsingadev is here. He is here. You are here for him, and he is here for you. It's reciprocal. Shri Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsingadeva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande Haribo.